big money this past weekend, according to Stephanie McMahon, as she and the rest of WWE, how they always like to tout coming off a big event. But SummerSlam in Nashville at Nissan Stadium, about 48,000 people. I found it very interesting. I was curious how they were going to do it, and I watched, obviously, how they did the camera angles and stuff like that. I will say the one thing about the camera angles that's different than the Royal Rumbles and the other ones that they've done is because, again, SummerSlam, they did do the one whole side of a ring. So the whole side of like the stadium instead of doing like an end zone kind of situation. So what that really made it feel like is more like a WrestleMania because all the drone shots showed the whole stadium. All the drone shots really made it seem like essentially like if WrestleMania was at Nissan Stadium and they sold out the whole place versus just the one side. I don't think any of the shots, like any of the camera shots overhead, would be any different. They made it they found a middle ground where they're like, hey, we want to only fill up half the stadium, but we'd love like a shot where it makes people who don't watch wrestling or, the People magazines of the world make it seem like we filled the whole place by the shot. You know what I mean? Because obviously, like in Allegiant Stadium, they only did the end zone and they had to do the shot where it was just the one side. They couldn't show like an overhead view of the whole stadium like they did in Nashville. And they did. It made it look like WrestleMania. Obviously, they got 48,000 versus like 78,000.
Well, they announced 48. I mean, it might have been padded a little bit.
Yeah,
but it typically gets padded. That's how sporting events are.
But either way, it's the third largest attended SummerSlam. It's what they're going after. I saw a lot of people on social media recently, and maybe not a lot of people, but I saw this pretty recently, and I thought this was stupid. But people who were like, "Oh, they couldn't fill the whole stadium." First off, one, they're not trying to fill the whole stadium. That's what Nick Khan has even said. He'd rather win Money in the Bank. He'd rather have 25,000 at Allegiant Stadium in a 60,000 seat stadium than he'd rather have 15,000 at the MGM Grand. Like that kind of situation. If they can get more than an arena, then they'll do it. So yeah. 48,000 or even 40,000, whatever it is, it's still more than they would have got at the Bridgestone Arena if the place was completely full.
I'll just say this too, like it's just so funny. That's I don't know if you saw the tweets. I was tweeting. I thought I did a pretty good job tweeting along. I will tell you, it's just so negative. Like there's so many people that are so negative. Like like you said, it's not sold out, and it's like I feel like a lot of people like diss on WWE because I feel like they're like obsessed with the dirt sheets. That's how I've always felt about it. That's why how I feel about the Meltzers of the world. They're hey, they make money, good for them. But some people are just so negative. And my thing to that is, why can't you just sit back, shut up, and enjoy the show? And here's the other thing. AEW is not getting that. AEW is not proven to get a 40,000 seat show
for their again, because WWE's not even claiming this is WrestleMania. WWE didn't put SmackDown at the Bridgestone Arena. They didn't put Raw at the Bridgestone Arena. They left town. They just did SummerSlam there for one night. They're not claiming this to be WrestleMania. They're not claiming this to be their number one show of the year. So AEW is not just not getting 48,000. They're not getting for their third, and they're not getting 48,000 for Fyter Fest. You know what I mean? They're not getting 48,000 for Revolution or, full, what's the other one? Full Battle or, Full Gear.
All Out.
Yeah.
All Out. I'll say it's All Out there. Chicago is obviously like their home base, like their second home base aside from Jacksonville. But I feel like they go to Chicago like every other month. It's just like, can we go out? Can we go somewhere else? It's literally there. And I know, Tony Schiavone and the crew, it's going to be a great, almost a week we're going to spend in Chicago, like hyping it up. Like, it's going to be great. You guys go there all the time. Can you go to
and all the
places?
venues that they're going? First off, granted, they did do the United Center once or twice. Good for them. They got good crowds for those events. No disrespect to AEW, but other than that, when they return to Chicago, it's back to the 7,800 seat Now Arena, home of the G League team. That's 40 miles outside of downtown Chicago. When they come to Cleveland this week, it's not the Cavs Arena, it's the Wolstein Center, home of Cleveland State. So, stop getting all excited for AEW's great, WWE's great. I think WWE is doing things, and it's crazy to think.
Just enjoy wrestling. How about that? Just enjoy some good wrestling.
And it's crazy to think. I don't know if they could have done it. I don't know why they never really attempted to do it. But think about 1999, everyone's favorite year, or 2000, everyone's other favorite year in the world of WWE. If we could just go back to then, the year 2000. All 12 pay-per-views, not one of them in a stadium. Not WrestleMania, not the Royal Rumble. Same with 1999. The WrestleMania was at the First Union Center in Philadelphia.
What about
in front
98?
of what? 98, no stadiums either. Now, I don't know, obviously.
97, 98 was pretty red hot.
Now, obviously, I don't know, if they went to Paris for some house shows or those kind of things, if they ran some small soccer stadiums while they were over there. But when it comes to the pay-per-views, 97 Royal Rumble was in Alamo Dome. But following the 97 Royal Rumble, the next stadium show for a pay-per-view was WrestleMania 17, 2001. So 98, 99, 2000... WrestleManias in arenas, Royal Rumbles in arenas, SummerSlams in arenas, and some weren't even huge arenas. We're talking like, Fresno, California's kind of thing. So, be pretty excited that, they're running all of these stadium shows regardless of...
Almost 50,000 at SummerSlam. Whether it's padded or not, there still was a good crowd there. The crowd was pretty good. I enjoyed the show.
I went to SummerSlam a couple years ago in Toronto. The place was sold out, but it's 18,000.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. 40,000 is 40, whether if it was 49, 48, 40, it's still going to be loud.
It's more than an arena.
Yeah, it's still good.
And it was a good show.
And that's the thing. I remember last week we did a preview. I wasn't that excited about the show, but I walked away watching it on Saturday night.
Were you a little disappointed, with the Seth Rollins that, there was no big thing with Seth Rollins. He wasn't added to the main event. He didn't have another match. He did the little gimmick with Matt Riddle. I guess they're just going to kick that can down the street to try to have
that's all they were doing is kicking a can down the road. That's all it was. I mean, I will tell you this. As much as I do not like Logan Paul, that son of a bitch put on a show. And, of course, The Miz does what The Miz does. And I said this last week. If anybody's going to put anybody over, Miz can do it better than anybody. And he made Logan Paul look like $1 million. And Logan Paul, to his credit, I will say, he did pull off some really good maneuvers. So he's a natural.
What do you like with social media out there? A lot of people have been saying this. Logan Paul better than Dominic Mysterio.
I mean, I think the sample size is a little small, but... if you want to go that route, I mean, I would say Logan Paul looks better, I would say at this point. Dominic has a lot of work to do, I
feel like Dominic Mysterio, without his dad being Rey Mysterio...
Wouldn't be in WWE.
Wouldn't it be, not even close, right?
I think he'd be wrestling indie. Some indie fed somewhere.
Yeah, again, he'd have to have some sort of tie for him to even be wrestling, obviously. He'd have to have some sort of reason,
I don't think he's that great of an athlete.
But if he didn't have the Mysterio name, if he just looked the way he looked, he would be as indie as can be. Because
he's not that great of an athlete.
I
don't think he's a natural. I don't think he's a natural.
He's
athlete.
All right. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying he's terrible. He's doing what we're not doing. I'll give him that.
Yes.
He still looks okay. He still made it to the big time. But he
does not have Ryback's body. It's not like he's coming out here.
He doesn't
with
move like
the
Ray
most
either.
Chiseled. Yeah,
to me, he reminds me of a guy, I'm not going to throw names out, but I'll just say college basketball, where the guy puts up good numbers, but he's not that great of an athlete. So he does the job, he does a good, okay job, but it just looks awkward to me. He looks clunky sometimes to me. It just doesn't look natural like Ray. Ray at his age still does things that not many can do even at 30 years old or at Dominic's age, which I think was, what is he, in his late 20s?
Yes. So we saw the return of, in the Mysterio Judgment Day match, we saw the return of Edge. Now,
not surprised.
And I feel like cool and all, but what did we need the vignettes for? I feel like he could have just returned at SummerSlam. What was the point of those videos?
Yeah, I think it was just to let Edge get some creativity out. That's really what it is. Edge is a creative guy. I think that's why he wanted those vignettes.
He hadn't been gone for that long.
I know, but that's, how it is. Edge, he has enough stroke.
And he didn't come back any different.
He kind of did. He kind of looked different. He came back. He
came back with the Judgment Day gimmick, but now he's just on his own, and he's a face.
He looks more like his Rated R Superstar stuff.
But he still came out with a Brood entrance, and yes, he's not 100% the Judgment Day gimmick, but he's still not. He didn't come back with long hair and his Rated R song. He came back with the darker, edgier Edge with his,
edgier Edge. That's good.
His gothic T-shirt that he debuted, and him fighting the Judgment Day. He's just essentially the Judgment Day version of Edge, except for he's the face. going after the Judgment Day.
I mean, I just want to look at the card here too. I mean, I will say, Belair and Lynch, that was a good match.
Yeah, it's really, too bad, obviously, what happened with Lynch getting hurt. We saw Monday Night Raw that she's out because looked like they were starting maybe like a little tag team thing going on, maybe like a little, with the return of Bayley. Finally, I wasn't so much shocked Bayley came back because it was long overdue.
But hold on a second. This is Triple H's, his fingers are all over this because Vince McMahon, there's no chance in hell you see Dakota Kai. And I thought Corey Graves said it wrong when she announced, which we'll get to that in a second. That's another thing. Io Shirai, now known as Io Sky, which they spelled Io differently, and now it's Sky. I like the fact that they're there. I don't like WWE's policy of, you can't use Io Shirai because you've used that in other places. Like that, to me, that's a little ridiculous. But I like the fact that both competitors are back in WWE in some way, shape, or form, and now they're part of this faction with the returning Bayley. So this is going to be fun. I think you're going to see a nice faction here. But I saw the way you looked at me. Go ahead. The floor is yours. How do you feel about this name change?
About Io Sky?
Yeah. I don't mind the name. It's okay.
I guess I'm used to it, and you talk about things are going to be different now that Triple H is here, but obviously, apparently, some things are different. Some things stay the same.
But promos are much better. I can tell you that. You could tell it's been more creative since Vince has gone.
I mean, we've only had 2 shows here.
I know, but you can see the creativity though. You can see. And
it's been said there's going to be a little less scripted stuff, and the ratings went up. But I think the ratings go up out of curiosity. I don't think the ratings this past week on Raw matched Raw being that much better.
It was still.
I think the ratings matched. It was like when Vince McMahon retired and everyone tuned into SmackDown. Nothing happened on SmackDown that night that was really groundbreaking, like you had to see it, but people tuned in just in case to be like, is something groundbreaking going to happen? But it was just Stephanie McMahon coming out and being like, welcome to SmackDown. Thank you, Vince.
So something that's not exactly groundbreaking, but I would say solid was Pat McAfee. That was another solid match with Happy Corbin. I thought that did the job, minus that finishing maneuver there at the end. That was a little shaky, but it's I mean, Corbin did a good job of helping Pat get through that maneuver at the end there. I don't know if he was trying to do like a destroyer and then it changed into something else. It was that last part. Besides the last part was a good match. That's why Happy Corbin is who he is.
He's got like what did you make of the entrance though?
I mean, he's making fun of Corbin.
No, the Pat McAfee entrance. Yeah,
he was making fun of Corbin.
Yeah, with
the Corbin. Yeah, I thought it was kind of tacky.
And it just was. I feel like
why not come out with regular music?
I feel like it wasn't really like. It felt like if you were in the crowd, it would have been hard to see, and it wasn't really. I would have rather seen Pat do something bigger than that. I mean, I get it's part of the shtick that they've had. I mean that part I understand, but I mean from that perspective, you could have just used some music and called it a day. So Theory, he's still the Money in the Bank, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure he didn't show up on Raw, but I don't think he officially cashed it.
No, Theory got destroyed, so
he tried cashing it in, but it was one of those as he handed the briefcase over, I don't think he was officially entered in that match. Still think that he is Mr. Money in the Bank, but he did lose to Bobby Lashley in a pretty quick match, so nothing in that sense. No WrestleMania 31 Seth Rollins-y stuff.
How about Liv Morgan and Ronda? That was a quick match.
Yeah, I mean, again, Ronda Rousey, I'm not surprised that she lost. I guess I would have been surprised if she lost in a more clean way.
But she's not I guess that's how you get Liv Morgan. Though. They're not it's like they're presenting her a heel, but she's not a heel. Like you know how she like threw a fit after the match.
Yeah,
like it like they're presenting like it's presented like she's a heel. But
I think maybe they're trying to do Becky Lynch because obviously she flipped to be a face at SummerSlam, so maybe we need some heels in Ronda Rousey.
I guess so. I mean, of course, I do. We have
regardless of what fans think, because fans didn't think Becky Lynch was a heel when they made her a heel last year at SummerSlam, but they still did it anyways.
Let me ask you this: what did you think about another Usos Profits match? That was good.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as good as their Money in the Bank match. It was still a decent match, but I will say,
Angela Dawkins looked good though.
I will say, if we want to move on to the main event, that was the best Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match that they have had yet. I was upset that I wasn't there. I've seen Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar a bunch.
How about that ring, huh?
Yeah, I've seen Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns a bunch. And, I've seen them at WrestleMania. I've seen them, I've seen them at multiple WrestleMania's main event. And I've seen them, I think I saw them in a SummerSlam. So Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, I've seen in person a decent amount of times. And I have to say, this was the best of those. 23 minutes. Remember Brock Lesnar not going more than like 4 minutes?
Yeah, 23. We'll take
23 minutes.
And he brings out equipment to lift the ring. It's
I mean, and we saw something
sick.
that, we've never essentially seen before.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Thought that was cool.
Oh, that was great.
Overall, so it was cool. It felt big. It felt WrestleMania-esque.
Yeah, that was that match right there. Right? That was definitely a SummerSlam match.
So I guess the question is, though, going forward, obviously with this, is clearly with Brock Lesnar, he's where do we go from here with him?
I know that's the big question, because
it was a clean finish.
You're not gonna. It's not like, you're not gonna put him in a U.S. title picture, are you? Like, you're not gonna do that.
No.
You could. Okay. The opponent,
do you think he has to go away until Roman isn't champion anymore?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I will say this. I want to backtrack just a little bit. Since Bobby Lashley is United States champion, there could be some intrigue there because of Bobby and Brock.
Yeah,
that's possible.
I think MVP said something in a recent interview where they were just tipping the iceberg with Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. But you know what? I feel like Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar could be like another world title thing.
They don't even need to be. They don't even need the belts.
Yeah,
you don't need the belts. That's the type of match. If it's just Lashley versus Lesnar, you don't need belts or titles, anything. You don't need anything. You just need two guys to get in there and kick the crap out of each other.
I mean, we obviously Clash of the Castle. I don't think that's going to have a WrestleMania-esque card. It's obviously going to have a decent card, but I don't think it's going to be as big as a card as, like, let's say even just SummerSlam was.
No, yeah. I
think it's going to be a pretty big card, bigger than the average pay-per-view, but like probably somewhere in the middle. But with Royal Rumble, let's say, coming up, and WrestleMania, we have a lot of time between those pay-per-views. So Roman, even if he is champion, if he'll be both champions, if he loses one of the belts, and that maybe gives it up to Bobby, like, there's chances for Brock and Bobby to face, not just for the U.S. belt, for many different things coming down the line, because I don't think it's going to happen at Clash of the Castle. I think, it happened either at next year's WrestleMania. By the time we get to next year's WrestleMania, who the hell knows? Brock could have beaten Drew McIntyre. He could be the new champion again. Roman Reigns could be disappearing. Roman Reigns and Rock in an unrelated match. We have lots of opportunities and different avenues to go.
I feel like all the issues that happened with Vince departing could make for Brock Lesnar just, they had to get him back, so to speak. Maybe they said, okay, let's finish this thing with Roman Reigns, then we'll figure something out later. Maybe they are going to keep him off TV for a while. Maybe they got to rework some things because Vince is in the picture. That's a possibility. Maybe they were able to get him to come back just to get the, plus, he doesn't mind a nice payday on SummerSlam.
Yeah, he was the fill-in for essentially what a lot of us believe was going to be Randy Orton. So,
yeah, it's not a bad fill-in.
And we still have Randy Orton coming down the line, but it is just tough. It is tough.
Maybe.
Well, not
that injury is serious.
Yeah, I guess down the line, maybe a little bit further.
Maybe in
down the line.
in 2023, maybe next year.
It's going to be tough. With Clash of the Castle, obviously, it's going to be Drew versus Roman, which we thought pretty much when they announced that pay-per-view many months ago that it was going to be Drew and potentially him winning. But, it's difficult because Brock is already fair. Roman Reigns, he's done everything he needs. It's like, it's hard to see him lose because it's like, how could you, especially after that SummerSlam match, it's like, how are they going to have you lose now? Once we've seen you literally just beat all the odds.
I got.
Like, who is bigger than Brock?
The Rock.
Stature-wise. Maybe popularity, but stature-wise.
The Rock's a big son of a bitch.
Yes, but
I'm just saying. If you're going there, The Rock is a pretty big son of a bitch. I think he's bigger now than he ever was in WWE.
All right. Well,
no. That little. All right, come on. The Rock is a big son of a bitch.
He is. I'm just saying, though,
I would like to see him and Brock stand next to each other because I think The Rock nowadays might be actually bigger than the Brock, and then Brock is now.
I guess what I'm just trying to say is after SummerSlam, it is just kind of strange to me that they didn't use any gimmicks or any things of why Roman's been winning these matches clean.
I'm okay with that.
He's been beating people without any gimmicks, so it just makes it more intriguing down the line of like, well, what could you possibly have in store if he's not going to lose this time around?
The Usos kind of got involved. Kind of. But at the end, for the most part, yes, I would consider more of a clean finish. Yes, I agree.
All right, that's going to do it for our recap look back at SummerSlam this past week in Nashville.